guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my much delayed tier ranking of every book that I managed to read in the first half of 2022. Now I'm gonna be perfectly honest with y'all, I already recorded this in its entirety, and then I found out that my screen on my laptop was not recording. So we're gonna speed round this because I am sad and irritated, and that's just a sad time for me. Anyway, we're just gonna jump right into it. So the categories have not changed in the slightest. New favorite is new favorite. Loved it is something that didn't quite make it that high. Meh, it was okay. I don't have any strong feelings one way or the other. Not for me is something that I didn't enjoy, but I can see why other people did. And truly terrible is something I hated, down to the very core of my being. So we'll just start from A Forgery of Roses, which is not for me. This was an arc that I received on NetGalley. There was art magic, like painting magic, and I just did not like the execution or the childish feeling characters, which is probably not fair because it's YA. I'm not the target audience, so it is what it is. A Merry Little Meet Cute, however, I loved it. I had a really good time with this. It was a really cute holiday romance about two people trying to redeem their reputations, one of whom is a porn star, one of whom has a past as a bad boy of a boy band, and they're just trying to do a Hallmark-ish type movie together to try and give themselves a better reputation. And it was a great time. A Rip Through Time by Kelly Armstrong I had a really good time reading too. I think I'm gonna say loved it for that one. This is essentially a Canadian homicide detective gets sent into the past, and she doesn't know how or why, and she gets sent into the body of somebody else to solve a murder mystery, essentially, that is happening at that time. Well, that's not why she's sent back, but that's what she does when she's there. And I had a good time. I'll continue reading the series. I liked it a lot, but I can't say the same for Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. That was just okay. This is one of the author duo in James S.A. Corey, who writes the Expanse series, and I wanted to try his new fantasy series to see how I liked it. I don't really have any strong feelings about it one way or the other. It was fine. Age of Assassins, though? New favorite, for sure. I really need to move on in this series. We have book 3, we don't have book 2. I probably should correct that so that I can fix this, but I had a great time reading it. It was everything that I needed at that time. The world building, the characters, all of it. It was amazing. I enjoyed it so much. The main character was endearing. His mentor was endearing. I just loved it. And all roads lead here if you've been on this channel for any length of time. I've already reread this twice this year, so that's a new favorite for sure. I loved it so much. I would reread it again right now if I thought that I could get through it quickly enough to not make a dent in the rest of my TBR, but it was great. And the same goes for All the Feels. Olivia Dade is one of my new favorite romance authors. Auto-buy for sure. I'm gonna move Shipwrecked up here already because that's the 3rd book in that series, and it's just phenomenal. The same could be said for Alpha Foxtrot. Sports romance. Football player is sent on to, what, So You Think You Can Dance, but like the celebrity edition? What's that called? I don't remember what the celebrity version of that is, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And it was delightful. Can't say the same for every book in this series. It was kind of hit or miss for me, but that one's definitely towards the top of the list. Not an absolutely remarkable thing, however. I didn't hate it, but I think it's gonna go in okay. It's just not what I thought it was going to be. I was looking for sci-fi, straight up sci-fi, and while it is sci-fi, it was a little bit more social commentary than anything else, and that's fine. It's just not what I anticipated going in, which made me sad because I love Hank Green and I really wanted to love his book, but I don't think I'm going to keep going in that series. Arcanum Unbounded, it's Sanderson, need I say more? I had a great time. Some of those are my favorite novellas that I've ever read. I can't wait to see what happens in the Cosmere when we branch out into those worlds that he introduced. It was awesome. But The Bear and the Nightingale was not for me. I know a lot of people that love A Bear and the Nightingale. I'm not one of them. I just don't like the whole atmospheric thing. I just rushed to get to the end of it because I was bored. I wasn't having a good time. Same with Blood and Honey. I just was severely disappointed after how much I loved Serpent and Dove. Blood and Honey was just no good. Not a fan. And Broken Play, it was okay. I don't have any major issues with it. I just don't know. I don't care as much as I did Alpha Foxtrot and some of the other ones in that series. This was one that I was just kind of like, yeah, it's, you know, it's whatever. But the Bromance Book Club, new favorite for sure. Sports romance was a little bit of my thing this year. Clearly, I was reading a lot of sports romance, and that one was adorable. Sibylla Byrne is... Oh wait, no, that's the one I liked. Never mind. Okay, Sibylla Byrne is the new favorite one because that is the one that takes place on the new discovered planet Through the Ring, and that one I adored. Nemesis Games, I don't know where that's at. Oh, down here. Is just going to go into loved it, though, because while I enjoyed Nemesis Games, my found family was not together during Nemesis Games, and that stresses me out. I like it better when they're all happy and safe and taking care of each other and watching each other's backs. So Sibyl Laverne, loved it. Nemesis Games, liked it, but not as much. And Deadly Class was not at all for me. Loved the TV show that I watched. Lana Condor is in it. Adore Lana Condor. Deadly Class, the graphic novel. Did not like the art style. Did not like the storyline in Volume 1. None of it clicked with me. Alright, and then Fake It Till You Bake It was a cute little sports romance, again, which I really, really enjoyed. I had a great time. There was a cupcake bakery. The football players owned the cupcake bakery. There was fake dating involved, which was great, so that was a good time. Same thing with Finley Donovan is Killing It and Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. These are really entertaining, quick reads. They're mysteries. She is accidentally mistaken to be a murderer for hire because she's talking about the mystery books that she writes, and ends up kind of taking the job. And it was a delightful 2 books. I liked the first one a little better, but the second one was great. I can't wait to see what happens in book 3. But Grace Under Fire by Julie Garwood was not for me. I got an arc of this, and I was so excited because I love Julie Garwood, and this was a massive disappointment. The main character was just so Mary Sue. So naive and innocent and didn't really have a personality, but she was just like automatically good at everything that she did, and she was always in the exact right place at the exact right time. It was kind of irritating. Grin and Bear It, though, I need to read the rest of that series. I had a phenomenal time with Grin and Bear It, or Beard It. Ha, Grin and Beard It. It's like Melissa McCarthy, because she's like the top female comedy person in movies right now, and she is filming in the backwoods of Tennessee, and she ends up falling for a Tennessee park ranger, and it was precious, and I loved it, and I want to read the rest of that series. Hands down, I read right after All Roads Lead Here, and it was a little disappointing in comparison. I have wanted to read Zach's story since we met him in The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and I wanted more for him. I don't really remember much about his love interest, and I don't really care. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite Mariana Zapata, but it was still good. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't love it as much as the other ones. Potential controversial opinion coming, but House of Sky and Breath, not for me. Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, phenomenal. Loved it. Would reread it over and over again. House of Sky and Breath disappointed me massively. Everything that I loved about Bryson Hunt in the first book just kind of went out the door in this one. Hunger of the Gods, though, loved it. John Gwynne. This entire series, the first one and the second one, have been phenomenal. I can't wait to see where it's going next. I don't know when the 3rd book is coming out, but I am counting down until that happens. And Jade City is another one that I need to read the rest of the series in. It's all out. It's all available. I just haven't gotten to it, which makes me sad. I have Jade War in multiple formats, but I haven't gotten there, but I adored Jade City when I read it. Alright, Jock Row and Jock Rule. I enjoyed them. There's nothing wrong with them. It was a sweet, fun college sports romance. It was a good time. Couldn't tell you what the names of the characters are, but I had a fun time. It was steamy when I got to those parts, and I'm a fan of that, so Switchbitter was the short story that went along with it. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. Switchbitter was like 25 pages, so there's not really much to say there, but it was great. And then Justice of Kings, I don't know. Loved it is strong, but meh is okay. Was like, it's not quite strong enough. It's somewhere in between. We're gonna go with meh. It was okay. It was fine. I enjoyed my time reading it. I read it rather quickly. The characters were fine. The world building was fine. I'll move on in the series, I'm pretty sure, because I'm intrigued. That's about all I have to say about it. King of Battle and Blood, I loved. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to move on in the series. It was straight up fantasy romance, vampires. It was fine. The main character was vastly annoying. The best parts of that book were the male love interest, and that's pretty much all I have to say on that one. King of Diamonds was great. King of Diamonds was a mafia romance that I read at a time when I was looking for mafia romance, specifically because I had been watching The Cleaning Lady, and I desperately wanted some closure in terms of that relationship that I never got, so I went looking for something similar in mafia romance books, and King of Diamonds delivered. I read King of Vegas for the same reasons, and it did not quite deliver as well, so I didn't like it as much. Lingus, again, Mariana Zapata. This is one of her older works. It's where a male porn star, ends up falling in love with a kindergarten teacher when they meet at a porn convention. And it was delightful. It's fine. It's not my favorite Mariana Zapata book, but I always have a good time when I reread it. This is my second or third time, so I liked it. Now, Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. New favorite for sure. I was fortunate enough to get an arc of this. I about cried when it happened because I had loved The Love Hypothesis when I read it back in January. Those both go into new favorite. Science romance, not a niche that I knew that I needed, but like definitely one that I wanted, and it just was amazing. Love on the Brain is definitely my favorite of the two, but The Love Hypothesis was good too. Night Pleasures by Sherilyn Kenyon. Reread for me again. I enjoy the Dark Hunter world every single time I venture back into it. This is no different. If you haven't checked them out, definitely go do. They're some of my favorite, like, dark paranormal, no, they're not dark, but paranormal romances that are out there. Nightwork by Nora Roberts honestly ended up being a bit of a disappointment for me. Usually those end up going into new favorite, or standalones do. The only reason I liked this was because the main character was Neil Caffrey from White Collar, essentially. But the reason that I ended up not liking it as much was because it was a romance that spent more time on him than on the actual romance. And that's what I was there for. I was there for the romance. And we barely got any of it, so that was a little bit sad for me. Alright, so Pawn of Prophecy, that is the first book in the Belgariad, another reread for me. I always enjoy venturing back into that world. This is no different. I had a good time. I enjoyed it every single time that I've read it, and I'll eventually continue on with the rest of those, but for now I think I'm good at the moment. Pestilence, I liked it, by Laura Thalassa. I don't know if I'll ever move on to Famine and War. I really probably should. Or Famine and Death. War is down here somewhere. Eventually I will probably move on. It's not really at the top of my radar, but I had an okay time with both of these books. Actually, because I just said that, I think they're going to go into May. It was okay. They're not super memorable. They're not anything, like, crazy good to me, anyway. They were fine. I read them. It was a thing that happened. Quarter to Midnight, I, again, was fortunate enough to get an arc of this. I love everything that Karen Rose does. This is something that I liked more than her cult series that she did. It was in New Orleans, and the love story was good, the mystery was good. I liked it. I don't know that I loved the bad guy in the end. I feel like that was a little bit lackluster compared to some of her other books, but I still love everything that Karen Rose writes. And Sanderson. I really don't need to say anything more about that, do I? I don't think we're good. Yeah, it's Rhythm of War. I mean, I liked it a lot. Not as much as Words of Radiance, but more than Oathbringer for sure. Alright, Rookie Mistake. I think this is book 1 in this series. If it is book 1, it belongs in New Favorite. The first 3 books in that series were phenomenal for me. The second 3 books in that series, not so much. I think. I can't remember exactly for sure, but I think that's about how that worked out for me. Next is Shacking Up by Helena Hunting. It was okay. It was fine. There was nothing amazing about this one way or the other. The guy had pet tarantulas, and that freaked me out a little bit, so it was okay. Same, so with these Sin and Chocolate, like, I don't remember exactly what these are called. These, if this is the first 3 books, I think it's these 3. I liked them a lot. I had a great time with them. The world was really, really cool. The urban fantasy aspect of it was really, really cool. The romance was great. I loved it. The second arc, the second series plotline, not so much for me. The first 3 books have like one overarching plot that's resolved in book 3, and they end it together. They're happy, blah, blah, blah. And then the second one, or the second series, like, of 3 books, introduces another bad guy that they have to deal with, and it just seems so unnecessary to me. I don't know that I'm ever going to finish it, if I'm being perfectly honest. This next one I'm going to be petty about. This I loved, until I got to the very last page and realized that it was one of those Kindle Unlimited books that they, like, just cut in half to make into 2 separate books for no real reason that I could see. I was so into this. I loved it so, so much, but it was, like, 200 pages long, and then I got to the last page, and they were like, come back next month for the next book in this series, and I was like, if it's next month, it's already written, which means that there's absolutely no need for these to be split up into more than one thing, and that is one of my biggest pet peeves with KU. That is why this is going into not for me. Starry-Eyed Love by Helena Hunting is actually the reason that I read Shacking Up, because I loved this book so much that I was hoping more Helena Hunting books would be for me. Didn't really end up being the case, but Starry-Eyed Love was great. Steel of Wraithscar, I loved. This is a reread for me, though, and I read it at a very stressful time in my life, and so it probably didn't hit the same way that it would have had I not been reading it at that time, but it distracted me well enough from the things that were happening, so I still loved it. I had a good time with it. Sugar Rush, one of those first few books, adored it. I had such a great time. Cole and Lily's romance is precious, and I love it, and I think that might have been the last book in that series that I truly enjoyed, so I had a good time. The Bone Spindle, this was, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a gender-bent Sleeping Beauty retelling, I want to say, and there's like a sapphic romance that goes on the side that was really good. I don't know that I'm going to continue on if there's more books in this series or not, but I enjoyed the first one enough that I think it ended well, so I don't think that I feel a need to move on, if that makes any sense. The Friend Zone, not for me. It was another college romance, college sports romance. I thought I was going to love it. I love college sports romance, and it was so squeaky clean. They didn't do anything, and that is on its own, like the principle, not really for me in my romance. It's not really why I go to my romance. I just needed a little bit more, but like it was the part of the plot was like why they couldn't do anything, but like I didn't care for it. It was perfectly fine for anybody else that likes that kind of thing. I know other people do, just not for me. The Liar's Knot by M.A. Carrick. Let's be honest, I've been raving about this book for half of the year. I don't need to say anything more about it. It was great. It was better than the first one for me. I can't wait to see what's going on in the rest of the series, and it's one of my new favorite series of all time, I'm pretty sure. The Red Palace was a good time. This is, I think it's like Korean historical fiction, and there's like a murder mystery, and there's political stuff going on in the background, and I had a really good time with it. It was entertaining. The characters were really good. I think there was a romance on top of all of that, and I really liked all of that as well. The Undertakers, I think it's gonna go and loved it. I had a really good time with The Undertakers. It's not necessarily my favorite book. Yeah, no, I liked The Conductors more, for sure. The storyline, everything about the first book, I really enjoyed it more. The Undertakers, it just didn't feel as good to me. I don't really know why, but it's still a really good series. Now, The Viscount Who Loved Me, the book, is a reread. I enjoyed it. Again, I have absolutely no issues with it. The series, the TV show, season 2 of Bridgerton, not it for me. I have a whole rant review on season 2 of Bridgerton. If y'all want to check that out, go ahead. The book has its flaws, to be sure. The TV show also had flaws, which I enunciated in that video, so I'm not going to go into that anymore. Alright, we're down to the last 2. So this is Wide Open. I think I liked this one more than Broken Play, so I'm going to put that one in Loved It. I vaguely remember the characters in that one, but I think that it was fine. I don't really remember all of the details or the reasons why, but it was okay. It was better than Broken Play for me, but not as good as the other 3, for sure. And then last but not least is Midnight Dunes by Laura Griffin, which is going firmly into Loved It. This was a romantic suspense. I don't remember the specific details about the story or the plot or anything, but I do remember I had a really good time. The forensics was actually legitimate, which is something that is very important to me as a forensic scientist. And I want to go and read more of Laura Griffin's books because of it, and that's why it's going into Loved It. That is everything that I had on there. I know that usually I go through and I rearrange them in each category by favorites, but at this point, I have technically been filming this video for over an hour because I had to completely start from scratch. So we're gonna not do that this time because my throat hurts and I want to go eat and drink something. So this is just where the rankings are going to fall. Let's be honest, at the end of the year, I'm going to do my favorite and my least favorite anyway. So yeah, this is all of the books that I read in the first half, which is everything I think through June, I want to say, of 2022. Let me know if you guys have read any of these. Sorry if I very lowly ranked anything that you absolutely adore, but they just were not for me. But that's it for this video today, guys. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps out my channel. Down in my description box are links to my Goodreads, my Twitter, and my Instagram if you want to follow me on any of those. But I'll talk to you on my next one, so bye!